All right, so we're going to be working with the fire element. The fire element, if you study a lot of different forms of magic, alchemy, esoterica, is going to be in a lot of different places. So first, we're going to start off with the chakras, okay? So chakras are energy organs. They influence our emotions, our body, and our manifestations, okay? Everything in reality is based off of elements. So water, air, earth, fire, space, or emptiness is one of the last ones that people consider. Sometimes it's switched out with the ethers, which the ethers is the balance of all elements, okay? So when we're working with our chakras, each one of our chakras is built with one of these elements in mind. Your root chakra, your solar plexus chakra, and your spirit chakra, which we call the ascended space chakra in Antojai, are all based off of fire, okay? The root chakra is a mixture of fire and earth energy. Your solar plexus chakra is a mixture of air and fire energy. Your spirit chakra is a deep concentration of fire and another manifestation of fire, which is essentially light, okay? So you have three chakras that work very deeply with the element of fire. And when you start using this element in those particular chakras, you can cleanse things away, because obviously we use fire to burn things away and to like kind of set a new playing ground. We can also use fire to invigorate, right? So like when you're really cold, you're cold on your passion to create the next level of your reality, you can use fire to kind of like warm you up and be like, oh, yeah, I get it. I got this juice to go ahead and concretely manifest myself, okay? So now that you know that your chakras are based with particular elements, and like the main three chakras that we're going to be focusing on while we work with fire are your root chakra, which is at the base of your spine. That root chakra is what a lot of people consider to be associated with the Kundalini. The Kundalini is like an energetic circuit that runs up and down the spine. Sometimes it looks like a snake. A lot of people communicate that when they have a Kundalini Awakening, which is an intense energy of fire. That's pretty much what happens when you have a Kundalini Awakening, is that you're bringing in so much fire into your body, into your root chakra, that it becomes electricity and it shoots up your spine, giving you an enlightenment kind of effect. Whether you have a lot of epiphanies or you simply just start kind of like understanding how you need to correct your life in general. Some people even get sacred powers when they work with the element of fire and their Kundalini, all right? So the root chakra itself is our foundation for happy foundation. So like when you're creating a project, or you want to like go ahead and you want to create the life of your dream, the root chakra is where you place all like the main ideas, right? Like if you want to have a dream house, well, in the root chakra is where you start imagining, well, that dream house is going to be in California and it's going to be 2,000 square feet and it's going to have solar power. You're creating the foundations or the safety that you're going to be manifesting in your reality. So a lot of your foundations for any manifestation that you work with is going to specifically start at the root chakra. It's not always as it's going to happen that way, but it is going to be a general rule of thumb that you can always count on. Now, when we start working with the element of fire, we really have to understand that fire itself is the idea of creation. So you know that spark of like creativity you had? The spark is the fire, right? It is like lighting a match or lighting a lighter that then drives you forward into the next stages of your reality. Fire, we can observe that as the sun. The sun is a huge fireball. The sun has been praised in many different cultures across time because of its power. With fire, we can grow because fire creates light. With fire, we can destroy because it does burn away things that no longer are needed. But fire itself has like this polarity, right? It can be really bad or it can be really beneficial and helpful if you know how to balance it right in between. That's what's always happening in your body. You might have certain elements that are more based on earth, and then sometimes you have way too much fire and it'll destroy those elements of earth. A great example is maybe you have a really good relationship, right? And the relationship is very grounding, and it does open you up to seeing things in a new way. But maybe you're super, super angry. You have too much fire in your reality. By a byproduct, maybe you let that fire get out of control and you say things that really hurt your partner that could eventually jeopardize your relationship with that person, because you cannot balance your own fire. It turns into a negative instead of it being a positive, right? Sometimes that same kind of energy of like having anger can be a positive. So one of the things that I really want you to understand is like the elements themselves, they don't look at good and evil. Okay, so I don't want you to look at fire as like, oh, there's only good ways you can use it and negative ways you can use it. No, there's a spectrum. Sometimes you need to be angry to create a good result, right? So sometimes if you know somebody's like playing games, you show a little bit of anger, a little bit of that fire, that puts them in their place to get what they need to do done, right? So that everything is in order. So not always is anger or fire going to be a negative event. You can use the intensity of fire or the intensity of anger to create a positive outcome. Now, whoever's on the other side of that intensity is the person that's going to judge whether or not it was a good event or a bad event, okay? The elements themselves are heavily, heavily founded within our thoughts, our emotions, our way of being, and even food. So you're going to notice that when you eat spicy food that's hot, right? And it can like cause you to like sweat and do all these other things. So your foods also have a lot to do with what you're playing into, right? The media that you watch is also going to play a huge role into what you're doing and whether or not you're going to surround yourself with fire elements on the regular. If you live in the desert, you have more fire and earth energy around you perpetually. If you live in a really sunny place like Aruba, there's a lot of fire and water energy that are constantly coming through there, as well as earth, right? So I don't ever want you to think that there's a finite way of working with the elements, okay? I want you to always be lucid to understand that certain chakras, certain ideas, certain manifestations can be a blend of multiple different forms of elements, or it can just be one by itself. The element of fire is also connected to the planet Mars. So earlier I was letting you know more about like the sun, but Mars has also been known with a lot of war or fire-like energies. So when we're working with this, we're connecting with so many different things. We're connecting with the color red. We're connecting with Mars, the sun, all spicy foods, the temperatures and the climates of the earth. We're even working with Mother Earth's root chakra. So the earth system, earth is alive. It's a being, okay? And it has chakras, okay? So the root chakra of Mother Earth is located in Mount Shasta, California, which I was at not too long ago. And there you can really feel a lot of like vitality, because fire does give you vitality. You can also use the element of fire to kind of like boil away at anything that's hiding underneath the surface. So sometimes when you increase the heat, you'll notice that things start to come out, right? And they start kind of trying to escape that heat. So if you ever feel like there's something really deep inside your shadow, or there's an emotion that you cannot process easily, one of the things that you really want to start thinking about is like, okay, let me see if I can burn this out and away. Another thing that's really popular in Hindu culture as well is the story of Shiva. Shiva is a destroyer god, but he's also one of the gods of peace. And one of the things that he does is he really focuses a lot on his third eye. Well, the third eye is the element of water when we dive deeper into the elements. But Shiva was known for bringing so much fire into his third eye that it became so bright and so powerful with flames that it could burn any injustice or any truth, any injustice or any mistruth that Shiva placed his eyes on, okay? So fire is so powerful that even your ideas can take the destructive form of fire and allow you to interact with the rest of reality. Now, we also live in a holographic reality, which means this reality is based off of light. Primarily, when we look at something, we're looking through a light spectrum through our eyes. That means everything that's physically manifested, because it's built off of light, it is somewhat connected to the element of fire, okay? There are fire dragons, there are fire spirits, there are fire, dimensions even. The Agoris really talk about one of the final steps that you go into when you're a mastered, super mastered Agori is you go into a dimension of just pure fire. And there's nothing there but fire and the essence of power, okay? So a lot of times we also associate even fire with power, and we can look at that in Egyptian alchemy. A lot of the most powerful Egyptian gods were sun gods, fire gods, right? So you have to allow yourself to not only go on this journey that we're going to be going on to understand more fire elements, especially when you're doing it on your own or you're doing it with me, but you also have to allow yourself to sit down and think about ways that you don't normally think about fire. So it would not harm you. It would not harm you if you went ahead and you go online and you're like, okay, hey, let me, read about the different kinds of fire. There's a black fire, there's a blue fire, there's a purple fire, there's a red fire, there's a yellow fire. They all have different temperatures. They're all used for specific things. They all have different properties, right? Because fire itself is even multidimensional. Fire is not just the plain fire that we use on our stoves. So when you start even giving the elements credence, or you start giving it credit that it's more expansive than what we've ever thought possible. Most recently, I think China was the one that created a mini sun, like literally an artificial sun that they created. And that right there is a huge feat. They use the element of fire and spirit to quite literally manifest it into a sun. Okay, so you are that powerful. If our scientific engineers on this planet at this time can create feats like that, that came from the fire in their mind of the ideas that got sparked inside of them to create those things. Okay, they could have easily, if they were more advanced, create that same event without technology if we were more enlightened as a society. The yogis, the sages, the alchemists, the masters, the pharaohs, they were all able to create supernatural events because they understood the elements in their body and how the elements manifested themselves into the physical universe. That's why there's a huge saying that says, like, your mind is so powerful. The universe is mental. The universe is thought. Whatever you create, you ignite. When you have passion, you are igniting a fire that's deep inside of you. When you have sex and it's actual, meaningful, pleasurable, connected, soul level sex, you're activating a lot of the fire. You're acting a lot of tantra. You're activating a lot of Kundalini energy, and you're getting closer to your soul, your spirit, and another person's spirit. Fire is in everything we do. Allow yourself to take some time to think about all the ways that fire impacts your life on a daily basis. The sun gives you sunlight so you can show up to work. You have fire to allow you to cook. When you feel overheated, right, and you have a fever, what is the fire or the overheating trying to do? It's trying to kill the bacteria that's in your body, right? Or whatever invasive thing is in your body. Fire is so much more closer to you than just, a fire pit or just lighting a match, right? Think about how close fire is to you and write it down literally in a notebook. Write it as much as possible in as many ways as you can come up with in terms of creativity as to how fire is subconsciously always in your reality. If you had an aha moment, that was a light bulb moment, a fire moment. Take a moment to do this. It's going to change your life, and it's going to help you really understand how much more connected you are with your reality than you've ever given credit to.